Hello everyone, today we're going to learn how to solve equations with addition and subtraction. So why do we want to solve equations? It's usually to solve for an unknown quantity. Usually that quantity is x, but it could be any variable. So what is exactly an equation? Well, you can see the most important thing about the equation is an equal sign. And you have something on the left side and something on the right side. And the left side equals the right side. Think of it, look at this most basic equation, 2 plus 2 equals 4. Well, we know 2 plus 2 is the same thing as 4. So everything on the left side of this equation is equal to everything on the right side of this equation. A better way to think about an equation is to think of it as a scale, where the weight of everything on the left side is equal to the weight of everything on the right side. And if you want to keep it to be equal, you have to do the same operations to both sides. So let's look at an example, right? So we put x weight on the left side. Now the scale is unbalanced. So in order to balance it, we have to do the same thing to both sides of the scale. So we have to put an x to the right side. Now here's a little bit better example, right? Now here's an example of we want to solve for x using the scale, right? So you can see this equation is x plus 4 is equal to 6 plus 4. So what we want to do is we want to actually remove 4 from the left side of the equation, subtract 4 from the equation. So what happens? The scale becomes unbalanced. So in order to keep the scale balanced, we have to subtract 4 from the other side of the equation. Now we simplify, and we're left with x equals 6. So how do we solve equations? Well, the first thing is you want to isolate the variable on one side, right? So something like this, you have x equals 5. And that's generally your final answer. So another way to solve equations essentially is you want to simplify each side separately. So we have this trivial equation, x equals 8 plus 7. Well, we can just simplify that to x equals 15. Now, both of those are pretty trivial cases, but the more important case is to be able to perform the same operation to both sides of the equation. So let's make something a little bit more complicated. We have x minus 4 equals 6. So in order to solve this equation, we want to actually remove the 4 because we're trying to isolate the x. We want to add to both sides of the equation 4 because negative 4 plus 4 equals 0. So we'd be left with x minus 4 plus 4 is equal to 6 plus 4. The 4 is canceled, and we're left with x equals 10. Finally, we're going to talk about the official addition property of equations. So for all real numbers, a, b, and c, where a equals b, so we have a equals b, well, we can actually add to both sides of the equation c, as long as we do it to both sides of the equation. Also, by the commutative property, we can also show that c plus a is equal to c plus b, and a minus c is equal to b minus c, because don't forget, addition and subtraction are the same thing. Let's look at example 1, right? We have a simple little equation, x plus 5 equals 7. Now we're trying to isolate the x. So to do that, we want to remove the 5. So we have to actually subtract from both sides of the equation by 5. So the 5's cancel out. And then we're left with x equals 2. Now in example 2, we have that same problem we had earlier, right? We have x minus 4 is equal to 6. So do you remember what we did? We added 4 to both sides. 4's cancel out, and we're left with x equals 10. Now we have a little bit more complicated question. We have x minus 2 in parentheses plus 3 is equal to 7. So there's a couple ways to solve this, but the first way, let's just do it by subtracting 3 from both sides, and we're left with x minus 2 is equal to 4. Now we want to add 2 to both sides of the equation. So we do that, and we're left with x equals 6, and that's our final answer. And finally, for a genius level example, right, we have a similar problem, but it has only variables, so we want to isolate the x. So to do that, we want to add to both sides of the equation b. So we have x plus a minus b plus b. Now the b's cancel, and we have that equals c plus b on the right side of the equation. Finally, we have x plus a is equal to c plus b. Now we want to remove the a, so we want to subtract the a from both sides of the equation. And when we do that, you're left with x is equal to c plus b minus a.